Welcome, everybody. Good day to all of you. Uh, and welcome to the NeuroMeditation Advantage webinar hosted by John Dupuy. My name is Louie, and I'm your moderator for today's webinar. And let's get everybody settled before we get started with today's special presentation. As you can see in the Zoom chat box below, please tell us where you're watching from in the chat box so we can get um, some chat started. All right, I guess. All right, let's wait for everybody and just make sure that your chat box is working. Everybody, Eureka Springs, Arizona or Arkansas? Alexa. Hi, welcome. Florida, we have somebody from Wellington, Florida. We have somebody from Dubai, Michigan, UK, Fayetteville, Arkansas, Ohio. Hi, Carol. Welcome. All right, thank you, everybody. UK, we have somebody from Greece. Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you. You can also use a chat box later if you have any questions about the webinar, specifically how to use brainwave entrainment more effectively. Later during this webinar, we will also be meditating together for 20 minutes, and we will be listening to Profound Meditation Program 3.0, Tier 3, Track 1. In the previous reminder emails that we sent to you over the last 2 days, you should have received instructions on how to download this track or stream using SoundCloud. Sabi is going to be our support today. If you can please put the download, the Dropbox link where they can download the tier 3 track 1 and the streaming links in the chat box using SoundCloud, that would be great. So after John's talk today, we will have a 3-minute break before the meditation. So please make sure to get your headphones ready because we're going to be
Yeah,
listening to
get your
PNP
headphones out.
3.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.0 using our headphones. Now, later today, also, we're also featuring our flagship program, PNP or Profound Meditation Program 3.0 Full Spectrum, which will be on sale for 35% off through February 19th. And this product features 18 tracks and includes Digital Euphoria Special Edition as a bonus track. So there's going to be 19. Now, normally, PNP 3.0 is 227, while the Digital Euphoria Special Edition is $47. But during the sale, PNP 3.0 with Digital Euphoria is only $147. So Sabi, if you can also put the links to PNP 3.0 and the coupon code in the chat box, that would be great. Now, is everybody ready for today's webinar? I guess everybody's ready and waiting for John. So in today's webinar, we will explore how iAwake can support a few things, a sustainable daily meditation practice, emotional healing and creative work, greater focus, creativity, and mental clarity, resilience and balance during challenging personal and political times, physical exercise and embodied practices, and study, learning, and spiritual reading. Okay, now, without further ado, here's John Dupuy. John, take it away.
Thank you, Louis, and welcome everyone. And it's a real pleasure and honor to be here and talk about something that I have talked about in my book, Integral Recovery. I talk about how to practice and work on it, but I don't think I just to a general audience have talked about it that much. So you can have the best tools in the world, but if you don't know how to use them, like you have a great chainsaw, but you don't know what it's for. It's just going to sit there, right? So how do we optimally use these brain entrainment tools? And I've been using this meditation technique for, oh my God, I don't know, a long time, maybe about 20 years. And I did 3 years before I even thought of starting this iAwake. So that's a lot of experience, and of course, I've talked to a lot of people, and your feedback and reflections has just kind of built this new body of understanding. And the most important thing I believe that I want to start with is to have a regular practice. Okay, a daily practice. You don't have to do it. This is just recommended. Okay, and one of the most valuable things we have in this world right now is our attention. Everything is made to grab our attention, whether it's YouTube or your phone or all these different technologies. And I think I heard a while back, I read some statistics that an average poor black boy in the United States spends 11 hours a day looking at his phone. 11 hours. It's insane. So this is what I recommend, that you build in a daily practice. It's like you get up, do your ablutions, whatever you need to do, make your tea, make your coffee, and then go to that special spot that is not in front of your computer and while you're using the phone, but turn it on airplane mode and just do that meditation. Okay. That time. And, I recommend, an hour meditation a day, but it doesn't have to be. You can start off with 20 minutes and make sure you don't check your text and your emails and all the feeds about what's going on in the world now, or what the latest thing Donald Trump has done, or just save that till afterwards. And I have made that mistake plenty of times, and I find that it really gets into my head like a worm and just really bothers me and takes me away from the focus of my meditation. So do that interior time, and we'll talk about what kind of practices to do, but put that first, number one first. And this technology is really effective. It works. If you you download our free app, there's a talk that I gave with a conversation I had with Susan Krasnall, who did her PhD dissertation on brain entrainment technology and all the research that was done in it. And there has been, this just started out, they started figuring this out back in the 70s, and it has really progressed. And so we have decades of experience. And there were two types of results in these research projects. And the first one said couldn't really notice anything or very small, and the other one said yes, absolutely. And what was the difference between the two? Well, the first one, where they didn't see any results, was because they'd only do it for about 5 minutes. And what we found out, according to science, that it takes at least 10 minutes to hit that phase where your brain actually starts in training and getting to the desired brainwave. So yeah, it's got to be over 5 minutes. I mean, I think stopping for 5 minutes is a great thing and just relax and breathing. But if you really want to get the full effects of this extraordinary technology, you got to go for a while, at least 10 minutes, and preferably more. And if you're using PMP, Profound Meditation 3.0, that we're offering at a super discount, it's broken up into 20-minute segments. So you can do 20 minutes. And if you're just getting started. So, and this technology, interestingly enough, is not just for beginners in meditation. In fact, if you're an experienced meditator, you seem to notice the effects more quickly, because all the practice that you've been doing all these years is not in vain. It's actually working. And I recommend that people, if you're a Zen student or whatever form of meditation you use, continue doing it. Just do it with this adjunct. And I think experience has shown us that it really helps. And so no matter what stage you're at, whether you're a brand new beginner or somebody who's, a master meditator and everything in between, this technology is effective. And it's very interesting because it meets you where you're at. The current state of your brain, which is constantly evolving, changing, the current state of your emotional life, the current state of your spiritual connections or lack of it, it meets you right there. So it's very useful no matter what you do. So yes, find the time in the morning, before you let the world jump on you. Now, when I get up, I have a dog, Tatum, and I have to walk her before I do my meditation thing. And so we live on this 5 acre property, so I walk her around that. So I just put on my meditation, the tracks, and I start as I'm walking the dog, I train. And so by the time I get her squared away and get back, and I'm already kind of in a space, and now it's not been time wasted, and it hasn't been a distraction. It's really kept me in the groove. And walking meditations with this stuff too is a very effective thing. But then I do my sitting meditation, and along with it, I do my sacred study time. As some of you know, we have a podcast. I have a podcast with Roger Walsh. It's called Deep Transformation. And we've done about, I don't know, 18 conversations or more with A.H. Almas, who, as Roger says, is one of the great sages, not just of our time, but perhaps all time. And so I'm working on his books, immersing myself in that after I come out of my meditation. And then I do that for about an hour and a half. My eyes start bugging out, longer than that. And then I go back into meditation after that and sit whatever tracks I'm using. And the PMP 3.0, the Profound Meditation Program 3.0, is such a good um, track to use. It's been working for years, and it's one of my favorites. And there's many. So if you get the download the free app, you'll see all of the tracks that we have, and there's also the details. It gives you an explanation what it's doing, what brainwave it's in training to, and so you get all that information. And one of the questions that comes up, well, which track should I use? Well, I think PMP 3.0, Found Meditation P4.0, is a really, really good place to start. And it has 9 tracks that are taking you progressively deeper into Delta. And today, when we meditate together, we're going to use the third group anyway, the third group of tracks, and it's going to be 3-1, which is pretty advanced, but it's also one of my favorites. So you can just go through that. And if you don't, how much should I do it? Well, I think more is basically more. Uh, an hour's meditation is much more powerful than 15 minutes meditation. It's just the way it is. And so you can do it however you choose to. One 20-minute track every day and go through the whole thing, to include the releasing tracks, include the epsilon tracks, the hyper gamma tracks. These are all included in PMP 3.0. And just kind of go through that. And when you get there, you can start the beginning and do it again. Or you can just focus on level 1 for as long as you feel you should. I mean, and then you can move to level 2 and do that for a while, and level 3. And then at some point you can mix them up. It's like if you guys work out and go to gyms, you kind of you get in your routine and what you do, but you want to kind of switch it around. So you exercise muscles in a different way, so they keep growing. And so it's not just the same routine, you mix it up. So and the digital euphoria track that is free, it's stuck on its bonus, is a very, very powerful track. And I've used that quite a bit myself. And also, I used to work with people online, people suffering with depression mainly, and addiction, alcoholism. So I had this whole practice. We used Skype back then, but anyway, we talk. And one of the things that I found, and I've suffered from depression myself, which is one of the reasons that I started using this technology. And I found it very helpful. But if somebody was going through severe depression, I say, meditate for 2 hours and call me in the morning. And almost every time that I can recall, it's like, okay, got it. So and an important thing about this is also for trauma and stress. So don't expect to just go into a bliss state every time you use it. Sometimes stuff will come up, whether it's stuff from the past, trauma, or if you're paying attention to the political news, that can be very painful. And so you actually allow whatever's coming up to come up. And most times it'll be centered in your body, okay? Usually with me, it's around the heart, but some people get it in the gut in different places, or maybe your head. And you just stay with that, being interested and just exploring whatever that is. And I have found after a while, it will begin to release. It's kind of like a fog lifting, not just a snap, but it just gradually, and the light starts coming through more. And there's a sense of relief and a sense of, wow, thank God, I've got through that. And one of the things that when I first started using this, I turned my home in southern Utah into a treatment center. And so I had it full of my beloved addicts and alcoholics. And we did an hour of this meditation in the morning together and an hour in the evening. And it was very powerful. I mean, you think of a treatment center that has people meditating for 2 hours a day. It's like, without this technology, I think it would have been virtually impossible. In fact, I tried to do it before, and it never worked, and it wasn't very effective. So we just sit there, and on the first, few days, they'd be lying all over the meditation cushions and just going, eh. But after a few days, they're like, I'd open my eyes and all these little Buddhas, sitting there. And they realized that this was not some trip that I was laying on them, but this was very personal. This was for them. This is a very personal thing. And after the meditations, and this is a good thing to remember, if you're receiving something very powerful, a resolution or solution, have something to write it down. And with my students, I said, if something's really coming through while you're meditating, you can just keep listening and write it down, and it won't take you out of that groove. But if you're paying attention, somehow the unconscious will know that you're worthy or that you want more. Just like before you go to sleep, if you have an issue you're dealing with, and just kind of program yourself, hey, great mystery, great spirit, God, whoever you talk to in that sense, give me a dream. I need some guidance on this. And oftentimes it will come up. And if you wake up and you record it or write it down, somehow the unconscious knows that you're paying attention, and you're much likely to get more. So you have to begin to pay attention. And one of my prayers was, God, what am I supposed to be learning? What am I avoiding? Is there anything I should be doing? Is there anybody I need to forgive, including myself? And I would just kind of set that up, and then I would go into it and see what would happen. And sometimes stuff would really come up. And when the trauma and the fear and the pain, very embodied, it has thoughts around it. Oh, this is when this person, did this to me, or I saw this, or whatever it is. Just push the thoughts aside and stay with the embodied feeling. Okay. And then just pay attention to it with great interest and respect. And one of the things the technology helps us to do is, when stuff like that's coming up, is to keep it in your body, but at the same time, you can witness it from kind of an outside stance, so that you don't just get overwhelmed by the pain and everything. It's like, oh, this is that, and this has been hurting me for years. And just watch it from the outside and say, wow, thank you, and watch it. And then it will gradually release. And sometimes it takes more than one session to get through it all. But after the release, I found that often there is kind of a sense, some wisdom that comes through that. Like, oh, this was, this was what that was about, or this is what you need to do, or this was anyway, and things that you didn't really understand before. So when I would start doing this, and my students would start getting these, and there's almost no alcoholic or addict that I've never known or worked with that didn't have PTSD of some form and didn't have trauma and didn't suffer with depression. It just seems to all coexist in the same thing. So when it would come up, they knew that it was good. And then, okay, release. And when it's, I would say, this is a little prayer I give. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. And what am I supposed to be learning? And just stay with it and observe it and let it completely do whatever it's going to do. So that way, this technology is not only a spiritual practice, which it definitely is, but it's also a internal psychological trauma practice. And I don't think regular meditation gets to that very well, but that seems to be one of the gifts with technology. It does that also. So, and depends, moving on from there. Also, another way I've used it, if you're running into a creative block and don't know something and need to know something and are confused about it, and there's two opposing things or several opposing things, just, I want to talk about this situation. I want to figure it out. So please, I'm going to shut up and pay attention and, see what happens. And it seems also that the unconscious or spirit or your higher self, however you want to language that, will often come through. And again, you have your notepad and you just jot it down. So you're having a record and you're paying attention and get more. When I was working with my students, hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, they would take notes about their experience and their meditation, what came up, and then we'd have a group and we'd talk together, work together. And they were amazing groups, like the best groups I'd ever been in, because we were already attuned to each other. We were already attuned to these deeper meditational states. And so when a group is not working, it, but these were just amazing. And it's because we were paying attention, we were using this technology, and I explained the technology. Okay. So those are three things that can help. Also, how to use it. What kind of practice do you do when you're using this technology? Well, I suggest if you're already on a path, let's say Zen, just do your Zen meditation using the technology. And one that I really liked, that I kind of adopted, is a centering prayer. And Father Keating, the late Father Keating, was a big proponent of that. And it started when, Catholics were looking at Zen meditation in different places where they actually practice and go, well, we want that too, just and not going to church and saying the rosary is not going to doing it for us. And so they brought on this very simple type of, but very powerful meditation. And assume the position, you focus on your heart. You say, okay, God, I'm ready to pay attention. And then if thoughts begin to arise, just have a word you use like amen or aho or little some mind you can use that, just so that you keep staying there and you just keep focusing on the heart and waiting for the mind and the spirit to get quiet. And in sitting meditation, it's 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the evening. Well, it's two meditations. And I think if you would like to practice that, that's a really powerful practice to do. Sit and remember, if you had problems with God, I think we all do. Remember this, a friend told me this one time. The God that you don't believe in doesn't exist. Okay. So you can just relax and not have a fight with this non-existent entity. Okay. So what that is, it just depends for you. And your concept of absolute truth or true nature will just deepen over the years. And when you finally have that experience, if you ever do, it'll just be more mysterious than it ever was. It just gets deeper and deeper. You never just kind of figure it out. It's like, oh my God, right? It just, and at some point, the mind just kind of closes down and the heart opens, and you can experience that without understanding. And eventually the mind comes back online. And I'm talking from, I'm learning and been talking to A.H. Almas a lot. So I'm kind of blending in his stuff because it's very up on my mind, but I found that is also true. Also, a friend of mine, Jess Salzman, said recently, practice is about faithfulness, not about success. Practice is about faithfulness, not about success. Because you can't meditate your way to enlightenment or awakening. Can't do that. But you can stay open, and then the powers that be, as it were, will do whatever they want, whatever is appropriate. So stay faithful. And often in this, in transformation in general, it goes like this. If you're practicing a language, example, I studied German in the military. They sent me to Defense Language Institute. It's a really intense language school. And they taught me German because I was going to be an investigator and go to Europe. And back then, not everybody spoke English. Young people now all over Europe seem to speak English pretty well because of the internet. So I found that I would not be making progress. And then all of a sudden, it would go up to this new plateau, and I could speak more fluently and I could understand more fluently. But so you just had to do the work there, and then it plateaus and you go on for a while. And that seems to be what it's with emotional and spiritual inner growth. You just kind of stay there. But that plateau is preparing you for the next punctuated up equilibrium. And that's a really good thing to remember. And there was a book by Angela Duckworth. The name of it was Grit, the Power and the Passion of Perseverance. And she did all kinds of research. I think she's a PhD on this, on grit. And grit is just the dogged determination to stay with the practice. And basically, she said that grit has a lot more to do with reaching your goals than just being naturally brilliant or talented. It's the people that stick with it that actually get it done. So, as I think, I may not be the sharpest tool in the shed, I may not be the smartest guy in the shed, but I'm going to stick with this because at this point I know I should. And my wife explained to me one time this process of change, how it happens. It's like meditation, for example. I don't need to meditate. And so, what's meditation? Perhaps I need to meditate. Okay, I'm going to meditate. Then you meditate. And after a while, it's just, you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just what I do. I meditate. That's part of my being. There's a quote I like. This is from my book again. And this is from Michelangelo, Sistine Chapel guy, David, great artistic genius during the Renaissance. And it says, if people knew how hard I worked to get my mastery, it wouldn't seem so wonderful after all. Okay. So he didn't just or start lying on his back, painting, and all this wondrous stuff came out. He just worked at his practice. And I played guitar, for example. I think I started playing when I was 11 or 12. My best friend showed me chords and stuff. And I just kept playing my whole life. And sometimes I'd play the whole bunch, especially when I was a teenager, in front of lots of people. But when I got to be 50 years old, there was a guy down the street that was selling vintage guitars. So I went down there and I saw this beautiful Telecaster Fender, and it's just gorgeous. And like I'd always dreamed of having a guitar like that. So I bought it, and it was some money. And I brought it home, and my wife said, "Oh, that's fine. It's great. Thank you, honey." And what I did is I put it right next to my desk where I do my work, and I still have a guitar there all the time. So when I was not doing other stuff, I just pick up my guitar and start playing. And then go to YouTube, and there's all these masterful teachers at whatever level, whatever style. God, there has to be hundreds of thousands of them. So I just started doing the daily work. And if you're not willing to suck at first, or if you're judging yourself, you'll never get there. Because nobody wins a gold medal the first time they run. It takes years and years and years. What I'm suggesting is that we build that in to our practice, the cussedness, doggedness, grit, the faithfulness, and realize you're not responsible for your growth and progress. You can use the tools, you can use the techniques, but it has to come from a higher place. And there's a story about Sam Snead. I don't know if you guys are golfers, but he was one of the great golfers of his generation. Not the, oh, yeah, the master. He won so many tournaments, and he was being interviewed. And he said, "Sam, you know, you just, you're so successful. How did that happen?" He says, "I guess I'm just lucky." In a very humble way. He says, "Sam, I've been watching you, and you practice more than anybody I've ever seen." He said, "Well, the more I practice, the luckier I get." Okay. So we do need luck. We do need that. But we got to do our part. That's like the wind can be blowing, but your responsibility is to put the sail up to catch the wind. So we have to do our little part. But the majority of the breakthroughs comes from oh, just being faithful to it. And now we have this technology that's been around since the 70s. It's been very well researched and used by perhaps millions of people, at least hundreds of thousands in our experience here. And yeah, it works. It helps people. And I'm no spring chicken. I'm like maybe a fall chicken at this point. But I could have stopped doing this for a long time. But why do I keep doing it? Well, because Sabi, Rex, Louie, they're like family to me, and not like family. They are family to me. And we keep getting feedback that this is helping people. So, aha. So that keeps me going because it's one of the best things, one of the best spiritual practices you can possibly do is service and helping others. So that's what keeps me in the game. And I keep meditating so faithfully, even sometimes I don't feel like it because, John, you're telling all these people that's what they're supposed to do. So don't be a hypocrite. Walk your talk. And that becomes important to me for my own integrity. Another benefit from this, I think you'll start understanding the mystical writings, the mystics, the deep teachers that come out of our human family better. It's not like, what? And it's like, oh, okay. You kind of sense into it and get it. And I'm just amazed that I'm dealing with Hamid or A.H. Almas, and we just keep this connection going. And I really intuit. I kind of really understand what he's talking about. And it ain't an easy journey. I mean, the man already studied physics at Berkeley, and he's just done so much work, and he's so smart. But I stay with it, and I use the entrainment to help me study. And I'm just, it's starting to dawn on me. And it's like when I do talk to him, it's like, this guy kind of knows what I'm talking about. And I do. And that's just a grace. So it'll help you in that regard too. Let us see. How are we doing on time? Okay, let me say some brilliant wrap up statement here. So we're talking about establishing a practice, essentially practice early in the morning before you get into your life. And then if you want to do it in the afternoon too, like centering prayer, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening, that's great. And a lot of times if you meditate in the evening, things that came up during the day, things that hurt if you're driving and you do something wrong and guy honks his horn and flips you off, it's like, ow, that hurt, a little wound there. And you get to go through that and just, you know, feel it and let it process out and go. So evenings are a really good time to meditate also. And we live in times where this technology, the internet, AI, YouTube, all of this stuff is just changing our brains, okay, and getting us so externally focused that we need to have a time where we go inside and turn off the world and just be there. Oh, maybe here's the last thing I'll say. I could go on for a while, but another good practice is say you do 20 minutes of brain entrainment technology. Well, then stop it and do 20 minutes of traditional silent sitting. And I think you'll find it remarkable that it really helps you meditate better. And I've been doing this for so long, and I'm a friend of Diane Mushu Hamilton, great Roshi Zen teacher, and I go when I live next to her in Utah when I'm there, and I'll go and I'll meditate in their temple, and I find that I can just it's not appropriate to have headphones on when you're in a Zen meditation group, and so I find that I can just come still very easily. Also, I found I had a massive heart attack a while back and almost died. But I was meditating as soon as I got out of ICU, and it was kind of an inspiring experience, at least in the beginning. And if I go to the doctors or I check my blood pressure here, because of the time that I practiced, I can bring down in 1 minute my blood pressure down to a very significant, much healthier thing. And more recently, my blood pressure has been perfect, but I used to do that. I would just remember, and I'll show you a technique before we get to meditate. So after this, we're going to have Q&A, and we're going to do a meditation together. I think it's PMP 3-1, which is really cool. I mean, I really like in that bracket there. That's really good for me. And so this is pretty deep dive into Delta. And Delta is a very slow, powerful wave that's great for emptiness, for silence, for presence. And Louis, do you want to talk to us, say something?
Thank you, John. That was a great talk. So let's have a 3 minute um break just so we can get ready for the meditation. And I just want to also remind everyone that we're going to be listening to PMP 3.0, Tier 3, Track 1. And Sabi just put the download link of the track. And also, if you prefer to just stream it on your browser, you can also listen to it via SoundCloud. Um, and I'll be counting everybody down to get us started with our meditations. Now, if you have any technical questions, please type them in the chat box, and Rex, our customer happiness manager, will answer your questions. So please get your headphones out, and we're going to be this is a track that you're supposed to listen to with your headphones. And we also have a special request since we're meditating together. For those of you who would like to join us with the meditation, it would be great if you could actually turn on your videos so we can see you and we can also just have a feel of meditating together
Yeah.
and share each other's energies as well. in the process. Let's see our time. Thank you, everyone. We have a minute and a half before our meditation.
Let
Um,
me say a couple of things before uh, when you're done.
okay, go ahead, John.
Okay, so assume the position, right? Sit up straight, your spine straight. And a friend of mine said one time, make your position like you see these Buddhas or gods on the outsides of temples. You know, they're just very dignified, and these kings and queens. So think of yourself as doing something very honorable and very dignified. And I will do a little exercise that I like to do. It's very short, but it really helps me to get relaxed. And uh, I'll just go through it. I'm count 5 to 0 backwards, and every number I say, I just say relax. And then, relax your jaws, relax your tongue, relax your shoulder, relax your belly, relax your legs, and just each one relax to a deeper level. And when we hit 0, then we're in a state of deep relaxation, and the technology can function, and our spirits and brains can function at even a better level. So, are you ready for that, Louis?
We have 30 seconds. Also, it would be helpful after your meditation if you have like a journal or your pen and paper ready so you can write down some of your thoughts. Because what we found during these slide meditation sessions that we're doing together, that it really helps to just be writing things down. We have
And how long is it? How long is the meditation, Louis?
this is going to be 20 minutes, and we're
Okay.
about to begin our meditation. I'll count everybody down and we'll begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So deeply relax. 5, relax. 4, relax. 3, relax. 2, relax. 1, relax. 0, feel it. Complete relaxation. Uh-huh.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you for that. Welcome back, everyone. Let's have a minute. Let's just have a minute before we get started with our Q&A. That might be a good time to also just process your meditations or write in your journals.
So take a bit of time to write down your questions if you have any, write down your experience.
Heidi just said in the comments, if, in case anybody missed that, if she wondered if many of you could feel a shift when the entrainment begins to take a hold after another or after around 10 minutes and starts to operate on a more relaxed wavelength. Thank you, Heidi, for that. It's a great comment. Let that, 10 more seconds before we begin our Q&A. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, and welcome back to a Q&A. Now, if anybody has any questions, please type it in the chat box. And I think we have some, I mean, we have some questions from earlier in the chat. So, John, are you ready? Let's answer some of these
Oh,
questions.
okay.
All right. Well, let's start with a comment from Jamie. Jamie Vasilian. Jamie, brother, it's been a while. It's good to hear from you. He said that he can vouch for this. When he used PMP after 2.5 months of use and multiple release clearings, my lifelong depression lifted. A lot of trauma was cleared. So thank you, Jamie. And Bill also said he's also a centering prayer practitioner. What a wonderful practice. And he uses the waves of intention track during one of his daily sits. All right, let's go to questions. And we have a question here from Robert Snyder. I listened to PMP with a, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Robert, Woozer mat, which is a vibroacoustic therapy mat with a range of 0 to 250 hertz. So I listen with headphones, my body is also vibrated within the same 0 to 250 hertz range. I'm supine while doing so. Any thoughts, John?
Well, yeah, if it works, you know, Jesus said, "Wherefore by their fruits you shall know them," you know. And this is not like a church you get thrown out. If you had some other kind of practice or technology, that's totally fine. And if it's working for you, and I've heard of other people doing it, and basically it seems to be reinforcing your practice and deepening it. Amen. Hallelujah. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. A question from Doris. What tracks are good for walking meditations?
I well, I think PMP 3.0 are
Yeah.
really good for that. And there's one that's called Workout Ecstasy. And it's made to really get you going. It's good workout and you work out exercise. But sometimes if you're just doing like a spiritual walk, a Zen walk, uh, the lower tracks such as PMP 3.0 are very useful. And of course, nature itself, if you have nature accessible, is also very transformative. And doing this while you're walking in nature is really good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Um, Nancy, she asked, what would you tell people who say they only like to listen to guided meditations to try to persuade them to use your meditations? Which ones would you recommend? So the question is, if they just like guided meditations, what are your track recommendations to convince them to try brainwave entrainment?
Well, I would say you're a rare individual because most people don't like guided meditation. So good for you. And let's see, we have what was it, deep recovery?
Oh
Um,
yeah, deep recovery. Mm-hmm.
that's really good. On a little story behind that, I was working for years with alcoholics and addicts that were recovering, hopefully, and I wanted to do a guided meditation for them. So I'd never led anybody in guided meditation. So I got this whole stack of books about guided meditation, And then I said, well, let me just try it. And I put on the track and just started writing it out. And the whole guided meditation just came out, just a gift. And people have said, some people even said it saved their life. It was very powerful. So I think, however that was, I was just channeling something. So that's a good one. What are some of the other guided meditations, Louis, we have?
Well, we have quite a few. We have profound Joe Chaos, profound releasing, profound renewal. We have sorry,
Judith,
I mean we have Judith
Judith
Pennington's,
Pennington's.
tracks, Kundalini and In, Out and Through. We also have Eco Meditation that we co-created with Dawson Church. Um, Colette Baron Reed's Energy Flows.
Yeah.
Um, we have Jonathan Robinson's. Those are like tracks that are also great for practical use. I just can't remember because I think we now have like around almost 100 iAwake tracks in our library. But yeah, I mean, another recommendation that I have is if people are not, I mean, people are coming from just listening to guided meditations and would like to listen to iAwake at some point in the future and would take some time convincing the audio tracks that we're actually using in these guided meditations are some of them are just existing iOA tracks. So it would be a great like gateway to actually, have a feel about like what the entrainment would feel like with or without the guided meditations.
Yeah, and each of the guided meditations has the track with the guided meditation that also comes with the track without the guided meditation, so you can
Mm-hmm.
use both.
Yep. Yeah, thank you. We have a lot of guided meditations. I encourage everyone to check out our store page because we have a filter there where you can filter it out just based on guided meditations if that's what you prefer. Now, Abe is curious about what John said about listening and starting his entrainment while walking the dog. I do some low intensity mobility movement first thing in the morning. It sounds like it would be okay to start PMP while doing that. Did I get some approval for mindful multitasking with movement?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it helps. And I've had martial artists tell me that, when they're doing their katas or their forms or kung fu people, that it really, really seems to move the chi or the subtle energy. So I think that is totally well, and I've done that myself. So all the feedback in my experience would say, Amen. Yes.
Thank you, John. We have a question. What is the potential for physical healing?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a really good question for physical healing. I mean, we know scientifically this stuff changes your brain. Okay, there's a development in the frontal cortex just gets stronger, like it's multiplied, and there's a coherence between the right and left side of the brain, which is gives you the left side, which is a more intellectual, linear, masculine, if you will, and compare to the right side of the brain, which is more receptive, more creative, more kind of, you don't think it through, you kind of just get the intuition. And when you put those two things together, it really helps. It's like if you just walk around seeing with one eye, then you do this, it's like, oh my God, everything just opens up. Everything is 3D, and the square becomes a cube. And also there's a coherence that happens. And we've had these tested out with different people between the mind and the heart. So you have left and right brain, mind and heart. And that's a really good question. I mean, I again, that's like I can't guarantee enlightenment, but I've used this technology, especially when I'm doing Reiki on somebody, which I did for a while, and I found that the just listening to the tracks, a lot of it PMP 3.0, would really help get me centered and seem to make the energy flow. And in those circumstances, I had some really amazing healing experiences. but that's all I can say. But I know if you're, a lot of our illnesses are because of stress or psychosomatic stuff, and this will help you to get through that stuff, or maybe to help you just to accept what's going on more. I'm not sure, but I think in either case or whatever case, it would be very can be very helpful.
Thank you, John. We have a question from Robert Snyder again. How best to layer the PNP release tracks and epsilon and gamma tracks? Robert, before I let John answer, we I think we have a lot of instructions about this in the manual of PNP 3.0, the user guide. And we also have some blog posts written about this from like a decade, almost a decade and a half ago, about like how to layer these tracks. So if you actually write us an email, we can look up those blog posts for you. But John, do you have any idea or any insights about how best to layer these PMP 3.0
I'm not sure if
tracks?
I understand layer. What does that mean?
Uh, I think it's just like listen, but Robert, can you please expand more about that? But I think it's more of like just listening to these tracks on top of each other, and we've written some
You
instructions
mean
about those.
at the same time or
Uh-huh. Yeah,
sequentially? I
yeah. I
don't
think it is.
know. I've never done it, so let us know what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Roberto asked, listening to this
Oh,
track, is this
wait,
Heidi?
I just asked Robert to unmute so he could explain. I don't think he means listening at the same time. I think just how to
Oh,
sequence
okay.
in your
Right. Not
practice.
at the same time, but just listen to tier one and two, and then
Oh.
epsilon or one and two, and then releasing therapy. How, like,
How to sequence them.
Yeah,
yeah, how to
yeah,
sequence.
I got it.
Thank you.
I would I would say in the beginning, just go through the whole thing, from tier one all the way to epsilon, and just get familiar with the complete landscape. And I remember I didn't do releasing tracks for a long time because they're kind of alpha theta, and I'm a delta guy. And finally, when I did the releasing tracks, it was like, oh wow, I'm releasing. They were very effective. So just know that the hyper gamma is really a different kind of thing. It's a very high frequency. And when they first started looking at it, it was in Buddhist monks. They were doing compassion exercises and increased that, they were producing gamma in their brains. Also, it helps process a lot of information. It's good if like all of us have all this stuff. It helps mental focus, but it's also very powerful. So you may not want to do all three in a row. Maybe just do one and then skip on to what comes after that. Just, you can feel when something's too much, you just kind of feel it in your body. You get the intuitive sense that, okay, enough's enough. And I can do 2 hours pretty well. But if I start pushing it into 3 hours, it's just okay. That you know, that's too much.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Robert. I hope that answered your questions. Your question. We'll take in the last three questions from Roberto and Constanza. But Roberto asks, listening to this track, is it normal for your mind to switch from present, past, and future events?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Your mind will do all kinds of things, and maybe sometimes you'll have a memory of something you didn't even remember consciously, and it'll come up. So it's very interesting. Yeah, that the one comes up, and sometimes it's insights, but generally we just want to stay in the bodily felt sense and in kind of pushing the thoughts aside. But if it's God speaking, you better shut up and listen. So there's no fast rule, but besides, yeah, you don't want to follow your thoughts too much unless it seems like it's really, really something important that's coming through.
Thank you, John. Constanza has a question which I'll answer first, which are not recommended for certain circumstances, like driving, for instance. So we have a disclaimer on all of our products, especially the brainwave entrainment one, to not use brainwave entrainment while driving or operating a heavy machinery. However, I think it might be also, I mean, John, you might have a different answer to this or another perspective about this.
Well, yeah, I definitely wouldn't use it during city driving. Okay.
Yeah.
You need to have your ears open because part of defensive driving is hearing what's going on around you, if somebody's honking or something's going on. But I still partially live in southern Utah. And man, they're just roads that go through the desert for miles and miles of just empty, beautiful, gorgeous desert. And I find it's pretty powerful to listen to tracks while you're driving through that. So if you live in a place where you have, really long, kind of deserted, safe roads for long distance, but if you live in a city, not so much.
Yeah. Might be good to just also listen to the non-brainwave entrainment tracks that we have. We have a few that don't have any brainwave entrainment, and of course, do not listen to it while with your headphones on while you're driving. You can just like play it on speakers.
Yeah,
That
the
might
subtle
be
energy stuff. Yeah.
yeah, the subtle energy. Her follow-up question actually is for physical issues, are the strong medicine or any other as well? I guess like is it a good track for that strong medicine?
For physical
Physical
issues
issue.
with that.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think a strong medicine. I named that, and they sent it to me,
Yeah.
and I was like, "This is strong medicine." And we advertised that this is probably not for everybody, and people loved it, and people bought a bunch of them. But it's definitely a powerful meditation. It really pushes you.
Yeah. Thank you, John. We'll take in our last question. This is a great question. From your experience, is PMP 3.0 potent enough to keep you growing for, say, 10 years? And what happens after that point? You seek for less stimulus?
That's really, really interesting. As
Uh,
the Greek philosopher name escapes me, he said that you can't step into the same river twice. Okay. So during the process of being alive and evolving, our brain is constantly changing. So something that was very powerful at one point might feel different at another point, and something that was very strong may be different. But yeah, if that's all you had, and you were on an island and the only track you could do would be PMP 3.0, yeah, I think that could keep you busy because it takes you through different levels, and that's a real good one. However, um, if your intuition says, well, or your curiosity says, I'd like to try something else, then do it. And you can start building your transformational library from there. And just pay attention to your own sense of what you should do.
yeah. Thank you, John. That wraps up our Q&A. And if you have any questions, please send us an email at support@iawaketechnologies.com. And before we close, I just want to
I had one more thing that I wanted to say, Louis.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
So this stuff actually changes your physical brain. Okay. The prefrontal cortex gets thicker, more dense, and your brain, the left, right, are connected more. And when they finally dissected Einstein's brain, I mean, decades after he died, they finally got around to it. They found that the prefrontal cortex was really, really very well developed. And they postulated, because he was a passionate violin player, people don't talk about this a lot, but he played a violin. And so they think it's your constant practice of the violin helped this part of the brain to grow more, which may be led to his amazing insights that changed just about everything. So it changes the brain. Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John. And thank you, everyone. And would like to remind you once again that our flagship program, PMP 3.0, in case you still don't have it, is now on sale. Just a reminder that this product includes Digital Euphoria Special Edition as a bonus track. So on top of the 18 PMP 3.0 tracks from tiers 1 to 3, Epsilon and Gamma Hyper Gamma, and releasing tracks, we also have the Digital Euphoria Special Edition, and it's on
It's
sale
very
until
powerful.
yeah, very powerful. It's on sale for 35% off until February 19th. Um, and Sabi will once again put there you go. Thank you, Sabi, and thank you everybody once again for participating in today's webinar. And if you have any questions, You can send us an email at support@iawaketechnologies.com. And I think Rex also put the link of our contact form on the chat box. And thank you very much, everyone, once again, and blessings and peace from the iAwake team.
Keep practicing.
Yeah, keep practicing. Thank you. Thank you all.